On today's episode of My Isolation podcast, Zelda Movie on the way, Mario Bros. Getting a sequel, and a massive amount of Switch 2 rumors. We'll be diving into the future of Nintendo. Listen in and find out more. And hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of My Isolation podcast, one of the best media-related podcasts you've probably never heard of until right now. My name is Connor. Thank you so much for tuning in, and let's just get right into it, because today we're going to be talking about the future of Nintendo. Because there's been a lot of Nintendo news as of late, these past couple of months, these past couple of weeks even. It seems like every day there seems to be a new Nintendo-related thing going on, whether it's in Switch 2, where it's about the Zelda movie, where it's about a Mario sequel, or their theme park, or a museum. It seems to be a lot of Nintendo's in the game. They're in the zone, they're in the know. They're around still after being around. They've been around for like almost 100 years, to be honest. But I feel like if anything, Nintendo's probably hasn't been more relevant than they have done now, which is crazy to think about. Particularly when you go back to like the Wii U days, when people just weren't talking about Nintendo, and when they were talking about Nintendo, it wasn't in a very positive light, because the Wii U was garbage. One of the worst consoles I ever bought. The only Nintendo console I think I've ever properly regretted ever buying, to be honest. Just massively underpowered. Just didn't have the same features as the PS4, Xbox One, and just that big ass tablet controller was just not pretty to look at, and it was not really that flexible or even that functional, to be honest. Really hated that tablet controller. But yeah, today we're talking about Nintendo, because I've talked about Nintendo a little bit in the past. Like we did videos on the podcasts, videos, whatever you want to say, on the Mario Bros. Movie from last year, and that was really great and everything. But I wanted to kind of just talk about the company itself, because as I've said before, and there's a lot that the company itself has been going through recently, but mostly with rumors and stuff like that. But so before I do, I'm just going to talk about my brief history with Nintendo. If this is your first time tuning in and stuff like that. Massive Nintendo fanboy. I'm probably one of the biggest Nintendo dorks around, to be honest. The very first video game console I ever played was Nintendo 64. I never owned one. My parents left me with a babysitter, and the babysitter let me play on her N64, and that was really great with Mario 64. So that was the first video game I ever played. And since then, I've just been a massive Nintendo fan. I was over the moon when we got our GameCube. I really wanted a Wii. And we ended up getting one, which was fantastic. I was ecstatic over like the DSs I always got. I got two DSs actually. I had the original DS, the very first model, the big bulky one. And I also had a DS Lite. That was a Zelda one, actually, the gold limited Zelda one that came out when Phantom Hourglass was released. Not that long. I was about to say not that long ago. Phantom Hourglass was released years ago. What am I talking about? That's like over 10 years ago now. No, that was over 10 years ago. Also, by the way, if my voice sounds a bit off, that's because I caught a cold. The cafe I'm working at the moment, somebody got sick. They came into work anyways. It spread around, and now it's reached me. And yeah, as you can tell, my voice just does not sound. I'm not sure if it's sounding like this on camera, but my voice is definitely not sounding perfect at the moment. I'm just still recovering. I'm still able to talk. Like I'm pretty much in the recovery stage now. I'm still able. So I am able to talk now, which is great. Unlike these past couple of days where I've just not been able to talk without coughing for every 5 seconds or something like that. It's been terrible. So all those consoles. Then obviously I brought a Wii U. Hated it, didn't like it. It's the only Nintendo system I think I've ever had that I've just ever regretted getting. To be honest, it wasn't worth the money that I paid for, and it felt like I'd been ripped off with the Wii U, to be honest. And there wasn't even that many games either. Like just barely any games for it. It was like not even that. It wasn't very powerful, and that tablet controller was just not appealing in any way, shape, or form. The idea of it was neat. You know, the idea like, oh yeah, you can play this on the thing. You don't have to use a TV, which implemented over to the Switch, but it just wasn't functional. Like the fact you can even be within like what eight, you had to be within at least like 8 feet or something of the system. You couldn't take it anywhere. That tablet controller anywhere away from the actual console was just well rip off, man, an absolute rip off. Yeah, so and then obviously I got a Nintendo Switch. One of my siblings brought me that as a graduation present for my masters, which I was really happy about. I was really ecstatic because obviously I really wanted a Nintendo Switch. I wasn't sure about it because obviously the Wii U kind of burnt me out. But then when I saw that all the positive feedback the Switch was getting, I was like, okay, I need to get one now. This thing seems pretty cool, and it is cool. It's a great system. I love my Nintendo Switch. It's such a great idea. Don't get me wrong; it's very underpowered, which we'll be talking about later on when we get to the Switch 2. But as of right now, I'm still enjoying it. I'm still buying games for it. Obviously, I recently brought Red Dead Redemption for the Switch, the port that they did a while back. Not had time to play it yet. Hopefully, I'll get some time to play it, some downtime to play it today, and give it a try out today because yeah, it'll be so cool. It's so cool that game's on Switch and I can take it anywhere on the go and everything like that. Even though I've not had time to play it, but yeah. So then, yeah, I've been a big Nintendo fan. Also, one of my other siblings, they had a Game Boy. They had two Game Boys actually, the Game Boy Advance, and they had quite a lot of games for it. And yeah, it's always been Nintendo for me. Don't get me wrong, I've had a temptation to delve into Xbox and PlayStation. I mean, we had a PlayStation 1 back in the day. We used to play like games like Spyro and Toy Story 2. Who remembers Toy Story 2 for the PS1? That's such a classic. Harry Potter games for PS1. I mean, come on, man. Those were, if any game needs a remaster, it's those games. Hogwarts Legacy, nah, fuck that. We need a remaster of the Harry Potter PS1 games, man. PS1 Hagrid needs to come back. I swear down. Just make sure J.K. Rowling doesn't get any money for it because, she's transphobic. But all joking aside, I mean, yeah, it was mainly Nintendo. I mean, we had a PS1. Some siblings of mine, brought like Xboxes and PlayStations, like a PS4 or something like that in the past. But for me, it was just always Nintendo. That's always the gaming company that's always appealed to me. I love their sense of fun, their sense of interactivity, and just their sense of their franchises as well, just so iconic as well. All of them are like Mario, Zelda, Metroid. F-Zero, even though that's not gone a new entry in years. Pikmin, Smash Brothers, obviously, Donkey Kong, and loads others. And they're so Star Fox as well. They're so flexible franchises as well. Like you got the Mario franchise where they're these kind of goofy, silly, light-hearted games where anyone of any age can jump into. Then you got Zelda, which are the more kind of mature, more serious titles. Though you do get the occasional Wind Waker and here and there where it's a bit more lighthearted a little bit. You got Metroid, which is more horror based. You got F-Zero, which is more racing. You got Pikmin, which is more of this kind of true to life simulator thing, which was really unique. And then you got those other stuff. So you got RPGs, you got fucking Fire Emblem. You got all these different franchises with all these different needs, and it's it appeals to people. It keeps them. It appeals to a whole range of audiences, and that's what's really great about it is that they don't have. It's not just the same franchise. Sometimes it can definitely feel like it. Like F-Zero has not had a new game in literally decades. So where the hell is that? We need that for Switch 2. Nintendo, make a new F-Zero game. There was a guy that actually brought a load of Nintendo stock just so he could like request a new F-Zero game. Kid Icarus had a brief comeback on the 3DS, but I don't think it's come back since. We need to come back for that. Chibi Robo needs another chance, and yeah, so they have a very great range of franchises and everything like that. And there's just very something appealing about Nintendo. There's always something very happy about Nintendo that gives you a smile and everything like that. When they're not trying to piss us off, that is, when they make really dumb decisions, which they have done in the past. Really dumb decisions, like the Virtual Boy, for example. What the fuck were they even thinking of that? I have no idea. And I think Phil Spencer actually put it really well when he said, because he was part of that Nintendo series for Crackle not that long ago. It was like a docu-series basically, where he said, when you think of gaming, the first thing you think of is Nintendo, because yeah, they've been around for ages. They played a really important role in the gaming industry. They brought the video game industry back from the dead after the video game crash, which was caused by, out of all things, E.T., the video game movie tie-in for E.T. They brought back from the dead with with the Nintendo Entertainment System, and that's been rocking from there. Really, they've been around, but even before then, they've been around for ages. You know, they were doing, I think they did trading cards beforehand. Yeah, I also Pokemon as well. That's another one as well. I forgot to mention that when I was talking about their franchises earlier. Pokemon's a big one as well. That played a big role in my childhood, mainly due to the anime more than the games. I tried playing Pokemon Ruby once. I got stuck on one part. I just never completed it. Whoops. But hey, we move. Yeah, but yeah, Pokemon's a big one. But yeah, they've always got a big. They make you smile in a way. Nintendo, they really do, and it's always great to see. But enough of that waffling on. Let's talk. Let's actually delve into the topics we got to for today. So we're going to be talking about, I think about one, two, three, four, five topics here. I'm going to briefly talk about the Nintendo Museum. That's going to be opening. What that was supposed to open in March, but I don't think it's opening in March anymore. Talking about the Nintendo theme parks, or Super Nintendo World for Universal Studios. Uh, and then we're going to talk about the Mario sequel that got announced recently, or spin-off maybe. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then we're going to talk about the big one, the Zelda movie. We'll talk about the two big topics, the Zelda movie and the Nintendo Switch 2. But first, let's talk about the Nintendo Museum. So yeah, there's going to be a Nintendo Museum coming out soon. It was supposed to be finished by March, the end of March, but apparently it's not. That's not going to be the case anymore. There was a site construction notice that was posted recently that has said that, and that's pretty much suggested that that's not actually the case anymore. Which I guess is understandable. In Japan, obviously, but I'm really looking forward to it. I would happily go to Japan just to like visit the Nintendo Museum. To be honest, just to see all the different what they've got installed, all the different products, they've all the different kind of exhibitions, seeing that rich kind of history, 100 plus year history from Nintendo. That would be interesting, seeing the humble beginnings to the more recent stuff, as well as maybe seeing some more rare items that we've never seen before, even maybe some items that that never got released. Like maybe this could be where the Nintendo PlayStation gets shown. For those of you who don't know, originally, Nintendo was doing a deal with Sony to do a CD add-on called, well, apparently it was supposed to be a CD add-on, but the actual thing got revealed recently. It just seemed like its own separate console called the Nintendo PlayStation. It was supposed to be a CD-based add-on for the Super Nintendo, and they ended up parting ways with Sony very savagely, if I say so. They didn't even let them know. They just announced one day, yeah, we're partnering with Philips instead, and Sony were like, oh, okay, well that sucks. And then Nintendo did that deal with Philips, and we ended up getting those god awful Mario and Zelda CDI games. So that's one of the weirder decisions Nintendo has made in recent years. But and what's funny is that actually was the main cause for the creation of the PlayStation. In a weird way, if we didn't have Nintendo, we wouldn't have had the PlayStation, which is crazy. Because obviously after that, Sony decided, well, you know what, let's enter the video game market and let's develop further on this CD based add-on we've made. And then Sony came in with the PlayStation. They completely changed the competition. And yeah, so without Nintendo, then the PlayStation would cease to exist. And yeah, Nintendo made the biggest rival, basically. um, and yeah, that could be something that could be shown at the museum. That could be interesting to see. You could even maybe try and get some demos played on there if you're able to. But I doubt it though. But yeah, that would be really cool to see. You could see maybe early prototypes of early consoles as well. So maybe we could see an early prototype of what the GameCube was supposed to look like, what the N64 was supposed to look like, what the Wii was supposed to look like, what the Wii U was meant to look like, what the DS was supposed to look like. We could see like all these different relics from Nintendo's 100 year plus history, where we can see these for the first time and be shown, and actually it's such an interesting thing, really. You get these kind of, I'm sure, like, media historians, because there are media historians out there who actually do collect these things and preserve history of media, which is very underrated, which is not very well known about. People like to preserve history for, like, historical events and stuff like that, but in terms of media, I mean, like film, TV shows that maybe have been lost to time. I think the Nintendo Museum would be a media historian's wet dream, to be honest with you. The amount of stuff that could get shown in there. that could possibly get shown in there is a big deal. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think that this is a great idea. I think uh, it would be cool, interesting. Yeah, and yeah, I remember when it was revealed last year. Actually, I think it was revealed during one of the Nintendo Directs. Nintendo teased it, and that was crazy. When I was like, "Oh wow, we're getting a museum." This is one of the things where you'd think back in the day, Nintendo would never do something like this. They've always been very kind of close to their chests when it comes to things like this. But the fact that they're trying to reach out a little bit more and trying to reach a more wider demographic, I think is really cool to see. It's good to see Nintendo finally be a little bit more flexible and stuff like that, and not just focus completely on games, even though that's their main demographic, obviously. Um, but yeah, I think this new museum idea is great. I think it'll be fine. I think it's going to be really quite unique in that aspect, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to the Nintendo Museum. Moving on to our second topic, the Nintendo theme park or Super Nintendo World for Universal Studios. Yeah, I remember when thing was announced back in the day. Yeah, it was announced back in 2015. I remember when that was announced. It was crazy because at that time, the Wii U was declining. The 3DS was still staying strong, I think, in terms of sales, but Nintendo just weren't getting the numbers that they were getting back in the Wii days. They just weren't, and they decided, you know what, we need to branch out and we need to. So they entered the theme park game, and yeah, and I love the idea of the theme park. I love how it's designed. I think that it looks really cool. Obviously, it's all Mario focused at the moment, but that will change very soon. We got that Donkey Kong expansion coming soon. That's going to be looking really cool. I think there'll be does that. I can't wait for that Donkey Kong. That I can't wait for that ride. That the one where it's set in the what is it? The minecart ride that they're going to do for that one. That looks really cool. Um, I think there's been a Zelda kind of a leak for a Zelda section of the park. Obviously, that was going to come eventually, and they'll start adding more sections to the park as well. They'll start adding Metroid sections, F-Zero sections, Smash Bros sections, all these different sections of the park, which I think is really unique and really great to see. And it's just good. Again, it's really good to see Nintendo being more flexible with their franchises, being more flexible and actually going out there and trying new things, and not just being stuck in kind of just doing games. I think because Nintendo they have the ability to be kind of a big studio if they want to, and I think they're making the correct steps to do that. Obviously, they're still taking the occasional, two steps backwards, one step forward, two steps back, two steps back. That's always been the case with Nintendo. But I think that this theme park is going to it's going to go some great revenue for them. It's tapping into people's nostalgia because people have wanted a Nintendo theme park for years. I remember back in 2007, a friend of mine was talking about how he would have loved there to be a Nintendo theme park. That they would make great rides for those. And now we have it, and it's there. People are going in there, and it taps into their nostalgia. You know what I mean? Like it's because everyone knows about Nintendo. Everyone's played a Nintendo game. Everyone's had that part of their childhood. It's always been part of everyone's childhood, really, and the theme park is their way of kind of living their childhood. I've seen footage of that Mario Kart ride, and obviously that does seem a little bit disappointing. I thought it would be a bit faster, but it just looks really slow in some places. But apart from that, though, it just looks so cool, and the props and the things they've done to bring this world to life it looks amazing, and I really hope to go there someday. I really do. I might start a GoFundMe just to go there. I'm joking. I'm not going to do that. Don't worry. But I really hope to go there someday. Because I think that would be amazing and incredible. Honestly, it just looks so good. And the idea as well that they're expanding it more with more and more franchises. They're doing it slowly, obviously, because obviously these things they take time. Like they can't just build a theme park overnight. It takes time. But I think eventually, like it'll be a much bigger attraction for Universal Studios and parks and resorts, and I think it'll just be amazing, and I think it'll just continue to be amazing till the end of time, really, pretty much. Yeah, so the Nintendo theme park, Super Nintendo World, I can't wait for them to expand it more. I can't wait to see what they've got lined up for that, and can't wait to go visit there at some point in my life. Hopefully, not in the too distant future. I want to visit it soon. But yeah, the Nintendo theme park, it looks amazing, looks fantastic. Cannot wait to see what they have in the future. On to the movie side of things. We're going to very briefly talk about the Mario sequel spin-off that was announced a few weeks ago. It was announced for Mario Day, May 10th, which for those of you who don't know, May 10th is known as Mario Day because Well, I actually can't remember the reason why it's referred to as Mario Day, but yes, so it's referred to as Mario Day. Nintendo decided to, obviously last year for Mario Day, I believe they released the third and final trailer for the first Super Mario Bros. Movie, and then for this one, they officially announced not only that Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door remaster and the Luigi's Mansion 2 remaster, HD remasters, will be coming in May and June. But then they've also confirmed that they are doing another animated Super Mario Bros. Movie, which is weird, which is great. Don't get me wrong, but it's also quite weird because they haven't actually say the word sequel at any point during that broadcast. They just said something along the lines of like, "Oh, we're doing another movie set in the world of Super Mario Bros." But then there's been a leaked piece of concept art recently, which shows that Mario and Luigi are in this kind of desert. They're wearing these robe hoods similar to the ones worn in the Dune series. The robes to protect themselves from sunlight, and you got stores of toads everywhere, selling items and stuff like that. So and it's got people speculating, is this a sequel? Is this not a sequel? What's going on here? There could be multiple reasons. Again, I don't think it's going to be a spin-off because obviously we've had that leaked piece of concept art. So obviously Mario and Luigi are going to be very heavily present in this. They could do something similar to the 3D Mario games, where obviously with the 3D Mario games, with the 2D ones, they were obviously numbered because they got sequels all the time. But the 3D ones, they tend, like, obviously, like Sunshine's technically a sequel to 64, but not really a sequel to 64. So obviously that's called Super Mario Sunshine. So they could do it something like that where they're technically sequels, but they're kind of also their own thing, expanding the world kind of in a way. So maybe this one could be referred to as like Super Mario Land or Super Mario World, in a way. Like it's called something different. It's not, they don't put the word two in the title because for some reason production companies seem to be scared of numbers now. They go put subtitles for everything, and it's a little bit annoying. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a little bit annoying. I prefer if everything was numbered, but there was research went into it. Apparently, if your sequel's numbered, that how actually does cause box office decline. People stop coming to the movies, and they stop seeing your sequels if they're still numbered. I think after the fourth, I think it's after four, then yeah, it could be a spin-off, I guess. There were rumors of a Donkey Kong spin-off, but why is there leaked concept art with Mario and Luigi in the desert in robes if there's going to be a spin-off, if it's a spin-off or something? I don't think it's a spin-off. I think it's going to be a sequel in some way, shape, or form. I just don't think they're going to refer to it as a sequel, or they're going to put the number two in it. They're probably just going to call it something different. Because I don't think Nintendo would want to take too long doing a direct sequel, because you want to try and build on that hype. It's kind of like the same with the Lego movies in a way, where the first Lego movie did really, really well, and then rather than doing a sequel to it straight away, they just decided, yeah, we're just going to do a bunch of spin-offs. We're going to do a Lego Batman spin-off. We're going to do a Lego Ninja spin-off, and then we're going to do a Lego Movie 2. And then by the time we got to Lego Movie 2, people just weren't interested in it anymore. They were like, don't give a fuck, to be honest with you. Yeah, so there's a video called The Super Mario Bros. Movie Rewritten by Char E5. I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, so that was done by him. He was basically a whole rewrite of the movie, like just not a complete rewrite. He still contains sections from the film, like he kept things from the final version, but he did rewrite it, and it did sound a little bit better than the actual movie. Not that there's anything wrong with the actual movie that we got, but I generally would prefer if there was an actual story behind it, because I like stories. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was not, and like I said before, and it was nice, getting that fan servicey kind of movie that we did get with the first one. But I mean, there's only so much you can do with that before audience get bored. I've said this before, and fan service is a lot like cake. I like cake, but if you feed me too much cake, I'll get sick of the cake, and I won't want to eat the cake anymore. And that's pretty much it. I think there's only so much you can really do, and with like just relying heavily on fan service and Easter eggs and being like, oh look, there's a reference there, reference there in the background. Before audiences either get alienated or bored or just sick and tired because that thing doesn't feel special anymore. It's kind of the same thing with the fan service in the Disney Star Wars projects, whether it's a TV show or a movie, where it does feel like a lot of it's just kind of pointless, and a lot of it is just kind of forced down your throat. Where it's just a little bit like, hey, you remember this from your childhood? Remember this? Yeah, love it as you did back in the day, and it just doesn't feel special anymore. Like I said this beforehand, but that random free CPU and R2D2 cameo in Rogue One why did that need to be there? That there was no reason for them to be there. There was no reason for the have that cameo except for, oh, we need a quick cameo to the original trilogy. Hey, look here. I just, and it just feels a little bit like it's just relying so much on its own history and past to keep the audience's attention. That's why we need a good story for the sequel. And there's tons of different avenues you can pull from to tell a good Mario story. We have so many Mario RPGs, like Super Mario RPG, for example, which I've been playing a lot recently with the remake. I'm a little halfway through of it. I don't really get time to game as much as I used to, so I need to make time for it. But I have been going through it, and it's a really great game so far. I really love it. That's got a really good story. The Paper Mario franchise, that's been praised for its stories, at least for the first one anyway. The other ones, Super Mario has bit hit and miss for people, and Sticker Star, Color Splash, or not very well loved by fans. And then you have Origami King, which is again very hit and miss. But the first two in particular, those have been heavily praised for their stories, for being very funny, really witty, really engaging, having really great characters for you to bounce off of and learn from. The Mario and Luigi RPG series as well, it's the same thing. They're still simple and basic, but they've got a bit more depth to them than a mainline Mario game would. That's great. And they have so much charm and character to them as well. Particularly Partners in Time. Partners in Time is quite scarily dark for a Mario game as well. I mean, there's that scene where that part of the game where you're going through the village and you just have these mushroom people who are just like physically attacked, like physically like chained up, not chained up, but like morphed almost into these trees, and their life force is being drained by these trees, and it's really dark for a Mario game. I can't lie to you. Even the Luigi's Mansion series, I'd say, has pretty engaging story as well. They're very basic. Yeah, Luigi goes into a house, he saves Mario from a ghost. But I think from King Boo anyway. Another thing that I really want as well, actually speaking of Luigi, is give us more Luigi. Give Luigi something to do. We get why you had him be kidnapped in the first one. You didn't want to do it. You didn't want to do it with Princess Peach. It made more sense to replace Luigi with Luigi in that scenario. But I think that's done now. I think Luigi needs more time to shine. I think one thing I would love them to do, and that because of the piece of concept art has them in the desert, this could be possible. But I think you bring Daisy into the picture. You start introducing her into the picture. Maybe Mario and Luigi go to Zarasa Land to help out. Luigi gets introduced to Daisy. He begins to fall for her, something like that. But maybe a little more in depth than that. But unfortunately, it's the same writer as the last movie, which he didn't do a bad job doing it wrong. But Matthew, dude, you did great. You did a great job with Local Movie 2. Come on, man, get a bit more in depth with the story for this sequel. We need. I'm not expecting like Christopher Nolan-esque story. I'm not even expecting like a Frozen-esque story, but just something a little more depth to it. Develop the characters a little bit more. Maybe have Bowser not appear in this movie like at all. Maybe have this be another villain like Count Bleck from Super Paper Mario, or what's his name? Tananga from Super Mario Land. Is that his name? I cannot remember. I do not have time to look it up. But something like that, something akin to that would be so cool to see. And yeah, I just think just get a bit more in depth into it. Explore the world, expand the world, build the world, more world building. That's what we need. Expand that world, give us more insight to how the Mushroom Kingdom works and everything like that. And don't have it just be Easter eggs, because I can forgive that for the first movie because that was their first movie in 30 plus years. That was their first go at really doing it in 30 plus years. So I can understand why you would rely a bit more on fan service and stuff like that. I get that. I really do. But I think that for this sequel, tone that stuff down and let's put the story first, the characters first, and let's just have a fun time with it as well. You can still have fan service, you can still have Easter eggs. That's all good. That's all nice. But cut that shit down a little bit. Limit that to a bit more and focus more on the characters and the story and everything like that. Let's focus more on that than just what Easter egg can we cram into here. We got plenty of that in the first one. We don't really need more of that for the sequel. We just need to limit that for the sequel, if anything else. I think Yeah, Mario Bros. Sequel. I'm really looking forward to it. I think apparently it's going to come out in 2026, which is pretty quick for for an animated movie. They must have. I think they must have started work on this as soon as they saw the numbers for the first one. I think as soon as they saw that box office for the first one, they were like, "Green light, let's go." But yeah, a Super Mario Bros. Sequel or spin off, whatever. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fine. I trust Nintendo. I trust Illumination. I think they got a great working partnership going at the moment, and I think they got a good deal for each other, and this will benefit both of them. It won't just benefit one; it'll benefit the other, and I think that's a really great. That's a sign of a really great partnership. And now let's move on to the two bigger topics at hand, which is of course the Zelda movie and the Switch 2. But let's finally talk about the Legend of Zelda live action movie first. Um, this came out of nowhere. There were rumors for months after the Super Mario Bros. Movie came out last year that that Illumination wanted to do a animated Zelda movie, and I think that we all everyone just kind of assumed that was going to be the case. That was going to be it was going to be animated. It wasn't going to be live action or anything like that. They were just going to stick with animation from now on. And everything. It was all going to be Illumination doing it in partnership with Nintendo. But no, around October, November last year, it was announced that Zelda was going to get a live action movie, and that Wes Ball, who directed the Maze Runner movies as well as the upcoming Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie, is directing it. And it's going to be produced by Sony, of all people, specifically Avi Arad. We'll get to him a little bit later. But for now, yeah, this is the first thing I want to talk about the Zelda movie is the response to it, because I'm getting really sick and tired of this whole this sounds so bad. It's gonna be so bad. Oh my god. Oh, we can't get excited for this. It's gonna be so bad. Everything like that. No, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. I'm excited for this. Okay, I'm sick and tired of this whole we can't get excited for things anymore. It's getting annoying now. It's like I don't get why. I get why people do it. I get it. You've been let down by Hollywood before. We've been let down by these studios before, but that doesn't mean we can't keep getting hyped or getting excited for these upcoming adaptations or projects or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather go back to the days when I was a little kid and I heard there was a movie of this thing I loved coming out, um and just being like, oh my god, I cannot wait to see that. It's gonna be so cool. I want to go back to that. I'm getting sick and tired of this cynical, repetitive, just outright, just the worst. Like this is gonna be so bad. We're gonna be act so over dramatic about everything. Oh my god, oh that's gonna sound terrible, and we're gonna put the words terrible in the thumbnail in big large yellow letters. It's just come on now. Let's be you know what I mean? Like I get it. If you're not excited for it, fair enough. But this idea that like, oh, you can't that other people can't get excited is ridiculous. I'm excited for this Zelda movie because honestly, aside from a certain producer that we'll talk about a little bit later, this is a Zelda movie I've wanted for years. I've always wanted a live action Zelda movie. I've always thought Zelda would work really well in live action. And don't get me wrong, like, there was that fan made Studio Ghibli Zelda thing that, didn't sway my mind, but it made me think, yeah, it could work in animation as well, given the right people that are involved in it. But man, if I think Zelda was built for live action, to be honest. And uh, this is the movie I've always wanted to see. Ever since I first played Wind Waker for the first time back in 2005. I always thought like this could be a great movie, but it was the 2-disc special edition Zelda copy, the one that came with Ocarina of Time and the Ocarina of Time Master Quest. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that they came. It came with that, and we just played both of those games for days. And it was just like, yeah, as I'm playing this, I'm thinking to myself, this could be such a good movie, a good live action movie, and you start to use your imagination, thinking of like, how could this work as a movie, as well? Like even when you're a little kid, because obviously, I grew up watching. Obviously, we all grew up watching. If you were born in the mid '90s to the early 2000s, if you're a mid '90s to early 2000s kid like me, you grew up watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That was pretty much it, the Peter Jackson one. And because of that, that really reshaped the fantasy genre. It brought it back from the grave in a way. I mean, I don't know. Did it bring it back from the grave? I don't know. Was the fantasy genre on the decline before Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. Let me know. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that definitely, if it didn't bring it back from the grave, it definitely upped the ante for it, because now you had so many other fantasy movies that were greenlit and that were essentially just trying to copy Peter Jackson's trilogy and give it that kind of same feel and same tone. You know what I mean? Like there's so many other fantasy films out there that tried that, and like some of them have tried their own thing, like the new Dungeons and Dragons movie. But the new Dungeons and Dragons movie, that's more of its own thing, really. That's not really part of like part of that. That's not really trying. That's not trying to be Lord of the Rings. That's just trying to be something cool and new and unique in a way. Um, and while I've kind of moved away from the whole Lord of the Rings aspect to it, because I think Wes Ball, there were some comments he made about it, which we'll go into in a second. I still think Zelda is a perfect idea for a good live action adaptation. And what I like about this is that it shows flexibility. It shows that Nintendo is willing to not just stick to one thing, to not just work with one studio. They're willing to work with anyone, provided that they're willing to show love, care, and respect to their IPs. Which is surprising that they're partnering up with Sony and Avi Arad. But then again, we said the same thing when it was announced that Illumination was doing the Mario Bros. Movie. We were all like, "Oh no, not the cheap guys, not the guys Despicable Me, the guys that make movies that look for cheap and they look cheap and they're going to look terrible and they're full of pop culture references and twerking and all this other stuff." But then we saw that first trailer and our jaws just all dropped to the floor. We were like, God, this movie looks gorgeous. It looks fantastic. The second trailer dropped and we were just like in complete awe. We were like, oh my God, this movie looks so good. And then the final trailer dropped and we were like, oh my God, I'm definitely buying a ticket to see this now. And we saw the movie and we fell in love with it. And we fell in love with the movie. And it was all from Illumination. We were all like, oh no, not Illumination. And they just completely just knocked out of the park. They were like, oh, they knocked it out of the park completely. And it was mind blowing to see how we all went from not the cheap guys to like, oh wow, this looks really good. And it was but yeah, we said that about Illumination when they were doing the Mario Bros. Movie, and now with Zelda as well. I think we can't really afford to do this whole over dramatic. We can't get excited for these things anymore. Stick that the internet loves to do, because the people on the internet love to be over dramatic about fucking everything. I mean, you get all these woke babies who just cry woke over, when a person of color gets cast in something, or like recently people cried woke because Morph, remember Morph, the X-Men character from the '90s cartoon that no one gave a fuck about, is now non-binary, and it's like, really, dude, you want to cry over that? Like, that's just pathetic. Like, Morphs of shape, they're a shapeshifter. They can change appearance. Like, it would make sense for them to be non-binary, but also, who cares? Nobody gave a fuck about Morph, like, ever in the original series. If I remember, I remember people calling him the worst X-Men, if anything, because they just didn't really focus on him, and they killed him off in the first episode. I know they brought him back later on, but that's a whole debate for another time. But yeah, I'm sick and tired of this over dramatic. We have to be over dramatic about everything. Everything's got to be an issue. It's got to be a problem. It's got to be a big controversy behind it. And it's like, no, we can't. No. We're not doing that with this one. We're not doing that with this one. We're getting excited for this, okay? We're getting hyped for a Zelda movie. We're getting excited for a Zelda movie because this is a Zelda movie that everyone's been asking for. People can deny it now, but I remember back in the mid 2000s, everyone, me and myself, and everyone was asking for a live action Zelda movie. Everyone, you had that April Fool's joke that IGN did. Remember the fake April Fool's Zelda trailer they did back then, and everyone thought it was real. Everyone's like, "Oh God, this looks perfect." And then you see the end credits, and it says April 1st, 2009, and everyone's like, fuck, that's an April Fool's joke. But everyone's wanted a live action Zelda movie for years. And even after the Mario Bros. Movie came out, I remember seeing people saying, "Oh, I still hope Zelda is in live action." And now we're getting it, and now it's like, "Oh no, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad." And it's just like, come on, man. Can we just get excited for things again? Do we have to do this whole over dramatic? Everything's gonna be bad now. Shit, again and again and again. It's annoying. It's getting annoying. So no, I'm not gonna fall into that pattern. I'm looking forward to this Zelda movie. I'm excited for it, and I can't wait for it. And everything. And yeah, I'm excited for it. Let's go. Live action Zelda. Let's go. Wes Ball as director. I mean, we'll see what happens. I actually quite like the first two Maze Runner movies. I found them to be quite enjoyable and quite fun. They're the only young adult novel adaptations that I actually do quite like because they're the only ones that actually try to be good. Like there's you got so many just like the Twilight ones and other ones as well that you could tell were just not even trying to be good. They were just doing it so like, oh, we need to make a quick buck. What's the young adult novel? Look, let's pick this one. And the trailers that he's done for that they've done for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, it looks really good. That's the new Planet of the Apes movie. For those who don't know, they're doing a fourth one, set in the same world as the other Planet of the Apes trilogy, and it just looks like a really good time. It looks fresh. It looks new. It also has that same feeling that the last two Apes movies did. It kind of feels like Matt Reeves never actually left. He's able to emulate that quite well, but I'm sure he's going to add his own feeling to it and direction to it and style to it as well. That I think that will be really great to see. And it'll be just interesting to see why they picked him. I mean, obviously, I think we know why. Obviously, we do know the reason why they picked him because obviously Nintendo people they like to boss people around. They like to do the deals in a way where they're like, if this isn't respecting our material enough, yeah, sack it off. We're going to write this off and not go ahead with it. So they need somebody that they know they can kind of boss around and kind of like that. But at the same time, though, I think you're doing a live action adaptation. You do need to take creative liberties with it, and I think Nintendo should know that at least a couple of creative liberties with it. Because you need to translate into live action, and not everything can be translated well into live action because live action is a very limited medium. You are limited to what you can do in live action. You can shove as much green screen as you want, but at the end of the day, you're still very limited, and that's why you do need to make changes to the source material so that it makes sense in terms of the movie. That's why you can't. That's why if you do it on a book or a comic or a game, it cannot be 100% accurate to the source material because you can't 100% do the source material in live action. Compared to animation, where it's limitless. You can do whatever you want in animation. You can do whatever you want. Whatever you want to do in animation, you can do whatever you want because it's a limitless medium. Go nuts with animation. Go crazy. Get hyped with that. Get hyped with that shit. So yeah, so it's limited, but at the same time, it just feels more. It's just more interesting, isn't it? It's more interesting adaptation to see them do Zelda in live action, and to see Nintendo go live action again for the first time since that live action Mario Bros movie from 1993. It'll be interesting to see how they pull it off. The approach that I would love them to do, honestly, is that I would just love them to give each Zelda game its own film. Because I think that those games individually are enough to cover a movie, and I think because you've got the Zelda mangas, like the Ocarina of Time manga and all the other mangas that they've been doing recently, and those make changes to the source material. They make drastic changes to it as well, but I think what they need to do is that look at those mangas and look at what they changed, what they alterated to work in that medium, in the world of manga, of comic book. It's not a comic book, but you know what I mean, to work in that medium, as well, the changes that had to be made for that. Or how, looking at like when something gets adapted as a book, like if you do a novelization of like a TV show or a book, there are changes made so they can engage the reader more, because it showcases that these are all very different mediums and you can't always do 100% accuracy. You have to make changes, and that's what excites me more. It's like, what are they going to change? What changes are they going to make to the source material to make it work in live action? That's what I really want to see. And I do think they should take, obviously, if they go the route of doing their own OG story for it, then go at it, go nuts. Why not? Do an OG story with it, bring in elements from previous games, blah, 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 whatever. That's fine for me. But the one that I would really love it if they just took each game and gave it its own movie and looked at each game and was like, okay, how do we make this game work for this movie? What do we need to do? Because I think each game has enough in there to be its own film and to delve into different genres as well, not just fantasy. Like Ocarina of Time, for example. The way I would do it, if I was in charge anyway, is that I would kick things off with an Ocarina of Time movie. I would split the movie into two parts. Part one focuses on Link when he's a child. Part two focuses on Link as an adult. and that's good. That'd be a good way to kickstart it in a way, because Ocarina of Time, up until Breath of the Wild, I guess possibly. I've not played through that game a lot, so I'm not 100% sure. Is the earliest entry in the Zelda timeline. And it's the most famous Zelda game. It's the most well-known Zelda game, apart from Breath of the Wild. But I think that's a bit too. It'd be a bit too recent to do Breath of the Wild into its own film. I think you need to wait a few years before you do that, and Tears of the Kingdom too, as well. I think Ocarina of Time would be perfect way to start off. Do that. Have a look at the Ocarina of Time manga, see what they changed to make it work in that medium, and then use that to go, okay, what changes do we have? What changes should we make to what changes need to be made to make this work in this medium, which is of course a movie. And then you could do, and again, like you could have elements of it could be this fantasy time travel two-parter where there's elements of time travel in Ocarina of Time, because obviously with the Master Sword you put it in the stone, you go back to when you're a kid, you take it out, you go back to when you're an adult, and you could really delve into that way, how that affects Link. You could have where part one, he's this kid, he's barely, because he's barely 9 years old in the Zelda in Ocarina of Time. I think he's just about 9 years old. He feels very out of place with the Kokori people. Because obviously Kokoris don't age; they stay as children forever. But he's the only one out of all of them that is aging. Clearly, he's growing slightly taller than them. They notice that he's changing. He doesn't have a fairy, so he feels a bit left out. And he finds out that he's got this much bigger purpose for his life that's built for him, and that he's got this more complex kind of history behind it with his parentage and everything like that. That he's actually a Hyrulean who was taken to the Kokori tribe to be looked after by a great wisdom tree by his mother, protected from Ganondorf. And I believe that's what happened with Ocarina of Time, anyways. And what could be cool is that could a good connection between him and Ganondorf as well. And that he meets Zelda for the first time. He goes on this big quest, this big adventure to prove himself. And then one change you could make for the ending of part one, because obviously there's that part in Ocarina of Time where Link's dream comes true. The dream where he dreams of Zelda riding away on a horse. Ganondorf appears, and then obviously she throws the Ocarina of Time to him. And then Ganondorf appears, but you could have it in a change where him and Ganondorf actually do have a fight, like a proper full-on battle between the two of them just outside of Hyrule Castle, and you could have where Link very nearly dies. In fact, Ganondorf comes very close to killing him. He very nearly dies, and that could affect him in part two when he becomes an adult, because because obviously when he's an adult, it's been like 17 years that he's put to sleep by the gods and everything like that. But you could have it where for the rest of Hyrule was 17 years, but for him that battle with Ganondorf was 5 minutes away, so that's still fresh in his mind. And you could even see how that maybe affects him. Like maybe in part two becomes a bit more self-conscious. He starts doubting himself. He starts questioning, am I really the right hero after all? Because he couldn't fight Ganondorf back 17 years back, and he very nearly got killed by Ganondorf. And yeah, I think that could be a really cool dynamic to it. I've said before, but Majora's Mask could be a really great horror time travel fantasy movie, because there's if you've played Ocarina of Time, there's so many horror elements in that game. It's just amazing how it's incredible, really. And the whole 3-day cycle thing, that could add loads of good tension to it as well. That could be really engaging. And that seeing that moon in live action, Jesus Christ, man, imagine seeing that moon in live action. That would be, oh my god, Jesus Christ, that'd be scary. Wind Waker could be a more kind of goofy, lighthearted Indiana Jones meets Pirates of the Caribbean type of film. Twilight Princess could be this more Universal monsters kind of movie, because obviously in that game Link turns to a wolf, obviously Wolfman, stuff like that. Link could turn to a wolf. As well, they could add like elements of like a Universal monster horror movie kind of thing to it, which would be really cool. Skyward Sword could have elements of a romantic comedy, because obviously the connection between the relationship between Zelda and Link in that movie, as well as Goose as well in that movie as well. That could be a really cool thing to do. And it wouldn't have to rule out animation completely. You could still do animated Zelda movies as well. Like if you were to give each game its own movie, You could have maybe do it in a way where maybe the handheld games like Link's Awakening, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, was it um, the one on the Game Boy Advance, the original one, was it Minish Cap? That's a Minish Cap. Minish Cap could get its own animated feature. Spirit Track could get an animated feature. Obviously, if you're doing Wind Waker in live action, Phantom Hourglass would have to be in live action too. But Spirit Tracks, I think you could get away with doing that in animation. I think because it's set many years after Phantom Hourglass anyway, and it's a completely different Link and a completely different Zelda. They just use the same models because they're using the same engine and the same graphics. A Link Between Worlds that could get to an animated movie. So you could do all these ones. Triforce, Four Swords Adventures would be perfect as an animated movie. That would be way better as an animated feature. I think you could delve into the comedy aspect more, having four different links working together. That would be much more better suited for an animated movie than a live action one. I think for a live action film that would get really annoying really fast. And yeah, so that would work really well. And then after that, you get to a point where you get to the first three. Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link, and a Link to the Past. And what you do is you get in touch with you call up Studio Ghibli. You ask them, hey guys, we want to do you want to do the first three Zelda games as a movie as animated features, and that could be a really cool way to get Studio Ghibli involved. Have the very first game be a Studio Ghibli movie. Have that come a little bit later down the line. You could call it like maybe like Legend of Zelda: The Adventure Begins, and then obviously Adventures of Link for the second one, Link into the Past for the third one as well. That could be a really cool idea as well, and stuff like that. And again, we wouldn't have to just be like it could be a different studio for each film as well. It doesn't have to be the same studio as well. So if you were to do animated, turn the handheld ones into animation, you could do it at different studios as well. You could play around with the timeline thing as well, but do their own spin on the timeline scenario? Have made things in there where maybe the connections are slightly different to the game timeline. Have some fun with that. Recreate that for a more cinematic experience as well. And the fact that it's almost a different Link in almost every movie as well. You could have different actors come in and play Link. You could have them give different takes on Link, similar to James Bond or Doctor Who, whatever. It's an interesting franchise to do that, and it could be something cool. It could be something new, something unique, something that's not really been done before. Well, maybe it has been done before, but not to this extent anyway. I think that would be such a a really good thing to see, and I would love it if they did that. To be honest, again, if they go with like an original story with elements of each game in there, fine, whatever, that's perfectly fine. But I just prefer it if each game got its own movie as well. I did say earlier about Breath of the Wild coming in later. I do think that and Tears of the Kingdom, it would be just way too soon to turn those into movies. I think you do the older ones first, then you get to the newer stuff. Let's give those games a couple of years to rest up and stuff like that before you give them the big screen. What the fuck, the big screen treatment, basically. Yeah, that would be great. That'd be cool as well. And speaking of Studio Ghibli, Wes Ball was actually talking about not that very long ago about how he wants to make this film. He wants this movie to be less Lord of the Rings and more a live action Studio Ghibli movie. That to me sounds amazing. That sounds great. That sounds really interesting. That has me really intrigued. The only problem is this: there's a difference between saying that and actually doing it. That's such a monumental task to bring that style into live action. It'd be like adapting a Studio Ghibli movie on its own into live action, let alone emulating that style for a live action concept. But I think it can be done. The guy is a big Zelda fan. 10 years ago he was tweeting about how the next big CG Avatar movie should be Legend of Zelda. I personally don't really believe in that. I think that if for the effects, they need to go practical. Practical. Let's go practical for the effects. Let's get some animatronics in there. Let's get some makeup effects. Let's at least try and go a bit more practical because, I don't want this to be an all CGI fanfare. I want to see real fields, real trees. I want this to feel real You know what I mean? I want this to feel like a live. It's a live action movie. I want it to feel live action. I want to feel like I've stepped into Hyrule. I've been transported into Hyrule. Seeing it live on screen for the first time. And there's plenty of like areas you can do it in. You could do like you could New Zealand, for example, where they filmed Lord of the Rings. Even though I know he says that he doesn't want to do the Lord of the Rings thing, and that's completely fine. I get it. You want to do your own thing with it. You want to create something new. That's fine. Fine. That's fine. But I would say this. I do think New Zealand would be a perfect place to film a Zelda movie. Perfect place to film a Zelda movie. As for the cast, I mean, for Link and Zelda, just get newcomers. Get some newcomers in there. Have this be their first big feature. Don't get big established actors. We don't need big established actors to play Link or Zelda. I think getting some new talent in there, or maybe just some unknowns who maybe have done a few projects here and there, but they're looking to expand their portfolio. Maybe get some unknowns in there. For Ganondorf, I've heard people from like Jason Momoa be suggested. Personally, I know for a fact that people are gonna might rip into me for saying this, but I do not care. I think this man would be perfect for this role for Ganondorf. But I would love it if they got Dwayne Johnson for Ganondorf. I generally do mean that. I'm not bullshitting you. I generally think Dwayne Johnson would be perfect for Ganondorf because, look, can The Rock act? Sometimes, yeah, but the thing is, he's just so charming in every role he does. He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not the greatest actor in the world, but he's got the charm, he's got the riz, he's got the swagger for it. And I think, and for Ganondorf as well, the thing with Ganondorf is that he's a really big built, overpowered villain. You know what I mean? Like he's just very overpowered, and he knows he's overpowered. And I think you need an actor that can kind of just display that overpower ness, if that's even a word. That feeling of being like I'm the most overpowered person in the room. I'm strong, I'm big, I'm tough. And I think Dwayne Johnson would be perfect for that. And I think it'd be an interesting role for him to do. Really, I can just picture Dwayne Johnson being a great Ganondorf. Really, and I think that'd be great. And we could get some good star power in there. While you're getting some unknowns for Link and Zelda, get some big star power in there. Who can you go bigger than The Rock? You know what I mean? And I know that people be like, well, he did Black Adam and that didn't do it very well. Yeah, but the thing with that is that most DCEU films by that point weren't doing well anyways. So, like, no one was going to save that. Even The Rock wouldn't be able to save Black Adam. As for everyone else, though, I mean, if they ever did Wind Waker, I think Ian McKellen would be a great King of Red Lions. Because it's Ian McKellen, man. Like, that man is just a legend. But I don't know, he might be a bit too old now, but I mean, is he a bit too old? I mean, would he really be too old for that? I mean, he's mainly just voicing a CGI boat, if anything. I think that would be he'd be cool as that if they did a Wind Waker adaptation. And yeah, and again, this shows variety. It shows that Nintendo are willing to do different things with their franchises. They might go animation for one franchise, they might go live action for the next. It shows variety in their movies, and it shows that. And for me, this shows that it kind of builds a much more clear and crystal future of where Nintendo's main goal is, in that they want to be kind of the next big studio in a way, the next big entertainment outlet in a way. That I'm not saying they're aiming to be the next Disney or the next Warner Brothers, but their aim is to get onto the same level as those guys, and they're just starting now. They're just doing the building blocks for it. They're doing the theme parks and these movies, and they're going to different studios. They're trying different avenues and genres and all that stuff. And I think that they are they are doing that, and it's really great to see. And it also, some people might again rip into me for saying this, but it also completely just completely obliterates any notion of them possibly doing a cinematic universe based on their IPs, and that is good. That is a good thing, because I've seen people be like, "Oh man, this means they're not going to do a cinematic universe. That's going to build up to a Smash Bros. Movie." And it's like, first of all, how the fuck is a Smash Bros. Movie going to work? That cannot work. I'm sorry. I know people say, "Well, that's can't work as a movie," and then they get proven wrong. But let's be honest with ourselves here. That ain't gonna work as a movie. Like yeah, you could maybe build up to it, I guess. Maybe have like a master hand grabs them all, throws them in this arena, and says, "This is a fight to the death thing." But is that really worth like multiple movies of worth of build up for? I mean, you're better off just doing a standalone Smash Bros. Movie on its own. Or maybe you could do like a Princess Bride thing with it, where it's a kid, it's a guy telling like, or maybe you could make something like it's a guy and he's telling his sister a story, and she's fans of all the Nintendo characters, and so he brings them all together in this movie, and that's maybe that's how you can get around it. But I don't know, man. A Smash Bros. Movie wouldn't work. And also, people talk about superhero fatigue. I personally don't believe in superhero fatigue. I know that people are saying, "Oh, the genre is going downhill," but again, as I said, Brian, if that's the case, then Guardians 3 wouldn't have done very well. Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness wouldn't have done very well box office wise. Thor: Love and Thunder, I hate that movie, but it did pretty well at the box office. We cannot deny that. No Way Home did very well at the box office. You've had like you have great shows like The Boys, Invincible, absolutely crushing the numbers. X-Men '97, which recently started airing last week, and the newest episode was this Wednesday. That's been doing well on Disney Plus. That's been boosting up numbers. People are actually tuning in to watch it, unlike the other Marvel shows, because people have just kind of just lost interest in those. Like people, and again, you got the Fantastic Four movie coming out. People are actually getting hyped for that. Like they're getting the hype. The hype is building up for that movie again, for Marvel again. I think, particularly in Fantastic Four with that casting announcement and all that stuff as well. So I think there's superhero fatigue. I don't think that's the case. I've said this before, but I think we're in a more cinematic universe fatigue. If anything, I think people are just sick and tired of interconnected universes, like products and IPs where you have to watch this movie in order to get this movie, and you have to do this and this and this. I think audience members are just really burnt out on that approach, and I think that because now it's getting to the point where they're like, wait, I have to watch this, I have to do homework, and I just don't think audiences are really want to do that. I think audiences just want to go and watch a film. You know what I mean? Like I think people are more just sick and tired of cinematic universes in general, and I think that they would rather movies just be all standalone. And I think all these Nintendo movies should be standalone. I don't think they should be interconnected. I don't think they should be part of a bigger universe. Why should they? I miss the days when movies were just standalone experiences that we went to go see. I don't like I don't like the idea anymore where it's like, oh wait, I have to watch this to get this. I have to do homework. It's nah, man. I miss the days where I could just go to a cinema and just watch a movie, and then that's it. That's all it is. Think of the different studios they could team up with for these movies. I mean, they could go like for F-Zero, for example, you could do Paramount. I could imagine A24 really doing a really great Metroid movie. I'm not even joking here. Metroid would be great under A24. They could have a really great movie with that IP. I mean, they've just been doing so well with the other movies and their own original horror movies and Everything Everywhere All at Once, that kind of thing. And yeah, I think seeing the studios they could pair up with just to build themselves up. And then obviously when the time comes, they can open their own studio. I know they've got the Nintendo Studios thing, but I think that's just for like video game cutscenes, something like that. But I think once that gets to the picture, they can open up their own studio, their own like Nintendo Pictures properly, and just be like, we're making our own standalone movies. And who knows, maybe they might even make movies that aren't even based on our IPs. You know what I mean? Like maybe they could maybe make original movies and everything like that. We'll see. It's an exciting prospect to think about. But now let's talk about the elephant in the room. The main reason why everyone's kind of gotten up in arms about this Zelda movie announcement. Let's talk about the one, the only, the real life Spider-Man villain himself, Avi Arad. Oh boy, Avi fucking Arad. Yeah, he's an interesting figure, isn't he? Avi, for those of you who don't know, he's a producer. He's produced most of the Spider-Man movies. He's hated by a lot of the Spider-Man community because for trying to get Raimi to include Venom, stuffing Amazing Spider-Man 2 with so many different ideas, producing Morbius and stuff like that. I don't know if he produced Madam Web, maybe. As well as that, he's also been attached to movies like the Venom movies and X-Men Origins Wolverine and Elektra and Blade Trinity, and obviously the Ghost Rider movies as well. And obviously, as I said beforehand, with Spider-Man 3, he pretty much forced Sam Raimi to include Venom, which is a character Sam Raimi doesn't hate. He just wasn't very familiar with. People seem to think that Sam Raimi hates Venom for some reason. He doesn't hate Venom. He just wasn't that familiar with Venom. Because when he was reading Spider-Man growing up, he was more familiar with characters like Sandman and Vulture, and Venom was just too modern of a villain for him to really understand and get behind. as well as also producing the Uncharted movie that came out in 2022. That movie, which wasn't very good. I saw it in the cinema and I was just bored out of my mind. However, I'm going to say this: this doesn't really worry me too much, mainly because of a few things. One, according to the original report, Nintendo is going to have final say on this movie. Basically, so basically, it's going to be the same thing as the Mario Bros. Movie, no doubt, where Nintendo was like, we get final say. We have to sign off on everything you do, and if you do something we don't like, then we're just gonna cancel this movie altogether. And yes, so that's that. But also, I think this is, to be honest with you, this is just for the poster. This is for the poster. This is for the trailer. This is so that they can just put, they can just put from the producer of Spider-Man in the trailers and on posters as well, because most of the general movie going audience don't know who Avi Arad is. Most of the general movie going population will see Spider-Man on the poster and think, "Oh, the guys who made that. Oh wow, I'm gonna watch it now because I like those Spider-Man movies." They're not like film pundits like us who like actually know the stuff, who look into the stuff and talk about this stuff a lot. Um, and yeah, so this involvement, that's why it doesn't really worry me too much. And I think he's probably not going to be too hands on with it. But to be honest with you, Avi Rad's he's more of a merchandising kind of producer. He thinks more in the lines of the toys and the merchandise that they can sell and make a good profit of, which isn't bad by any means necessary. But when you're doing a movie, you sort of, do you know what I mean? Like, you need to kind of think of something more better than just toys. You got to think of story, characters, what they're going through, what they're going to go on their arcs, what their arc's going to be, stuff like that. So it will be interesting to see how this turns out. I'm going to be honest. This doesn't worry me too much. To be honest, I know Avi is a very controversial figure and everything, but again, I just don't think this is going to worry me. This doesn't worry me too much. I'm not like panicking, like, oh no, Avi, you're rad. It's like, no, I know Mimo is still involved. Nintendo's still very heavily involved. And if Avi does try anything, they'll just probably cancel the movie and just maybe shop it to another studio or something like that. Because that's pretty much how Nintendo does their deals. It's more, do as we say, or this deal's off the table. And I think Avi's he's going to be a massive idiot to have to actually answer back to Miyamoto. Could you imagine Avi Arad actually answering back to Miyamoto? Like, Miyamoto says to him, change that. That doesn't respect our IP. Change that. And Avi just goes, no. That would be. Can you just imagine that? Like, that would be just crazy to see. And I don't think Avi's going to be that involved in this. To be honest, again, this is just for the poster. This is for the trailer, but I think also it's just so they can gain a bit more experience making big budget live action movies. They've gone say we were Avi, but he's produced a lot of the movies he produced have been big and successful movies. He produced a lot of the X-Men movies, a lot of the Spider-Man movies, and stuff like that. They've been big, huge, and successful. So he's probably that's another reason why they probably got him for the Zelda movie, I imagine. So yeah, it doesn't worry me at all. I think this is just for the poster, for the marketing, and just probably gain a bit more experience making live action stuff. But yeah, I'm not worried about this at all. And that's pretty much it for the Zelda movie. Again, I'm looking forward to it. I'm getting excited for it. I'm not going to be this, over dramatic. Oh, this is going to be so bad. It's going to be terrible. Disaster. In fucking yellow fucking text in the fucking thumbnail type of guy. No, I'm getting excited for this. I'm getting hyped for this. If it turns out to be bad, it turns out to be bad. But you know what? We asked for a Zelda movie. We're getting a Zelda movie. If it turns out to be bad, at least we can say we at least got a Zelda movie. And it may even turn out to be fantastic. It may turn out to be really good. And I've got hope for it. I'm getting excited for it. I don't care what people want to say. I'm getting excited for the Zelda movie, and I think you should as well. Let's get excited because, man, we've been asking for a Zelda movie for years, and we're finally getting it. Don't know when this movie's coming out though. There's not been a release date yet, but hopefully it's in the near future. Maybe I'd say 2027, maybe 2028 we get the Zelda movie, which is a few years off, but still, like, that could be it. And finally, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch 2. Let's talk about it. This thing has been heavily rumored for years. I remember when the first Switch came out and it was heavily rumored that we're going to do a Nintendo Switch Pro, which was going to be a slightly more buffed up rendition of the Switch. Obviously, kind of like the PS4 Pro in a way. Obviously, that ends up just being the OLED model. which apparently is a lot more good. Is really good. I haven't got the OLED one on myself because I'm perfectly happy with the Switch I have. It's perfectly fine. It functions well most of the time when games don't crash because of how underpowered it is. But we'll get to that. But yeah, it's been rumored for a very long time. And look, the original Switch is about 7 years old now. It's been 7 years since it came out. I remember when it came out and it was brand new, and it's 7. It's been 7 years. My God, like even when we got to the fifth year, didn't feel that old, but now it is starting to feel its age, and we do need a new system. We need new hardware, new updated hardware for it, and I do think Nintendo will probably continue going down the Switch route. I can't really picture a scenario where they just do something completely radical and completely different. The Switch has done immense numbers for them. It's brought them out of what was essentially the dark ages for them with the Wii U, um, which was absolute garbage. Just the biggest pile of shit in the world. Hated the Wii U. Generally, just did not like the Wii U at all. And yeah, the fact that they made up for that in thousands is just amazing. But the Switch is starting to die off now. Sales are starting to decline because everyone who wanted a Switch has a Switch. And yeah, I think it's time for new hardware. We got a new PlayStation, we got a new Xbox consoles that have come out. PS5, Xbox Series S, and Series X. We need a new Nintendo system. Like we need something brand new. And all these rumors coming around at the moment, they've got me more intrigued than anything else. This reminds me a lot of when the original Switch was actually in development. For those who don't remember, the original Switch first came into development around. It was rumored back in 2016 that a new console was in development, and it was codenamed under the NX at the time. And then Nintendo actually did confirm it at some point during 2016, officially on Twitter. And it was still under the codename NX, and for years, there were leaks, there were rumors, there were people going, "It's going to be like this, it's going to be called this, it's going to have this, it's going to be more powerful than the PS4," which didn't happen. It's going to have this controller, which didn't happen. It's going to be this, and that, and it's like. There was one rumor as well. If there was a rumor that was going to be called the Nintendo Focus. Remember that? That was an interesting rumor, to say the least, and that Smash Bros Melee was going to be upscaled into HD for some reason, even though it's like, why, why just make a new Smash Bros game? We don't need Melee in HD, unless it's on Nintendo Online service, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, and then the Switch finally got revealed in 2016. Came out in 2017, and it was just a runaway success from the very start. I didn't get my Switch until 2019, so about the second year was out because, like I said, I waited a year, and then one of my siblings actually brought me one for my birthday. That was really nice of them to do. And yeah, I really enjoy the Switch. I think it's a unique concept, but it's old now, and we need we need newer, more improved hardware. And those rumors running around about what it's going to be, what it's going to be called, what it's going to look like. It's recreating that hype. It's recreating that feeling of back in 2016 when the NX when it was the first one was announced, when we went under the name the NX. And recently there was a leak that it was going to be called the Switch Attach, and that people were saying that it was going to be like a screen you attach to the Switch and it acts like a DS kind of. That I don't think is the case. I think that whole attach thing is more than likely just a code name. It's like NX. NX was a code name that they held on to for a very long time. But they've probably just told the marketers, look, just call it a Switch Attach. We'll give you the real name in a later date. What should the system be called though? Because we had this problem with the Wii U where people thought the people didn't even know the Wii U was a new console. They thought it was just a tablet controller for the Wii, and that was it. They weren't aware that it was actually a brand new system, and that was mainly due to Nintendo's god awful marketing for the Wii U. Like, I mean, to be fair to Nintendo, how the fuck do you market the Wii U? How do you market that? That's that piece of shit. It's garbage, absolute garbage. Uh, yeah. And yeah, so so it's interesting to say the least. What should be called? I think they should just call it Switch 2, to be honest. I think it's simple, it's basic, it's clear clear to the core, and all that stuff. What the console should actually be, I think it should just be a much more powerful Nintendo Switch. Keep the console thing games that you can take on the go aspect with you, but maybe change a few things around. Like maybe have the dock not be this giant box. Maybe have it be like this little pad that you just put the switch on and you can detach the controllers. There was that cool. I believe it was a fake concept art where the controllers were kind of slid in the shells. Like you could have that. That could be a really cool thing to see, as well, and everything else as well. And yeah, that it could look really cool as well. Have a much better interface because the actual Switch interface is so dull and so boring. That's the thing. I will give the Wii U credit for that. It did have a really great interface with all the Mii's and everything just wandering around. It gave it such a zest of life and everything like that. Even the Wii, the Wii channel, Wii channel where home screen where you had all different channels and everything like that. That was really again. That was really cool to see. It gave the sense of it gave you the look feeling of you were watching a TV channel or something like that, which was really nice. Somebody has suggested that maybe the dock could be like a streaming stick, Amazon Prime, Amazon Fire Stick. Maybe that could be a cool thing to see. I can't lie, but I don't know how TV mode would work with that. I think you'd probably have to put it on a pad or something like that to get to the TV. But that could be cool though, like having all that power in just one little stick. That could be something really cool and unique that we've never seen before. And everything, yeah, so that could be really cool. Keep the detachable controllers, but maybe have it be a bit more bigger. Maybe not be a bit more tiny. But we don't need these straps because we don't need this. We don't need straps. Do we need straps? I don't think we do, personally. But make the controllers a bit bigger, make the screen better. I know there's rumors running around that they might just keep with an LED, LCD screen. That would be really disappointing if that was the case. Nah, man, just upgrade to OLED, keep OLED on it. Like, let's go. Let's just keep OLED on the screen on this thing. Why not? Let's just be OLED. This should be an OLED screen just right out of the gate. Improve the sound quality on it, like the speakers work better and everything like that, and that could be really cool. More features as well that we need. Get rid of the whole voice chat on the mobile phone app thing. I do not know why they did that. Like your console is literally a fucking tablet. You can just have that implemented on the console, implemented into the console itself. You don't need a app on a phone to talk to your mates. Like I'd rather just open Skype and do that if that's the case. It's like Nintendo saw people doing that with the Wii U and thought, "Oh, this is that for real." And it's like, no, man, just have it implemented onto the screen. It now supports Bluetooth now, like Bluetooth wireless Bluetooth headsets. Just have it implemented onto the screen, like and onto the screen, implement it onto the actual system itself. Like, why not? As well, have a much better online system as well. Like online has never actually. Wait, let's go back to features for a second. Streaming services need to be on the Switch. I don't know why they're not on there yet. The Wii U had streaming services. The Wii U had Netflix and Amazon Prime. There's no reason why the Switch can't have it. I know people say like, well, it's not always about streaming, but it's like consoles being able to play movies and stuff like that is pretty much a big part of consoles now. They're multimedia machines. You can play music or anything like that on them. You can play DVDs, Blu-rays. For the Switch's case, it might just be streaming services. But like you can do you can watch YouTube videos on your Switch. So like, why not have Disney Plus? Why not have Netflix? Why not have Amazon Prime? Why not have Crackle? Why not have HBO Max? Why not have any other streaming service that you can think of? Get it on there. Like, why not have that be on the system? Like, imagine you're on your Switch and you're like, I want to watch a movie, so you just turn your console off and then you watch it, or you're playing in handheld mode and you're like, I want to watch an episode of a TV show, and you just you turn that on, and you just watch it like that. We watch movies on our phones now, on our tablets now as well. So it's not like it's a unique concept, but it just helped with more flexibility for the owner of the console, that they can just they can just get a this switch between different modes, between playing a game on a streaming service. Like just switch, because it's called Switch. I'll see myself out after I finish recording this anyway. But yeah, that could be a really cool idea. What else as well? Have basic features on from day one. I don't know why it took Nintendo 4 years to get Bluetooth on the OG Switch, but like that can't happen. That can't happen again. Like we need stuff like that needs to be available right on the gate. with the online service as well, particularly with the expansion pack. It's time, man. It's time to put GameCube games on there. It's time to put DS games on there. It's time to get Wii games on there. Maybe even 3DS games on there. I think it could work. I think it's time for Nintendo to really delve into their backlog of legacy content and really hit home on that aspect, because they've got the biggest legacy content of them all. They've got some of the biggest franchises around, and not doing anything with them. Like a lot of these games are unavailable, and it's like, and they trickle them. They spoon feed them to us like once a month and stuff like that, which is fine, I guess. But I want GameCube games on there now. I want Wii games on there. And like, I know people say, like, how's that going to work? How's it going to work? Look, we can make it work. We're in this is the 21st century. We can make it work. We can have maybe you can have it where the GameCube one. It's just basically, like, I know people say like, well, there's those GameCube games that got ported over to Switch, and it's like, yeah, but a lot of old games got remakes on Switch, and the original versions end up on the online service anyway. Like Super Mario 64, for example, that got re-released for the Switch as part of the 3D All Stars collection, and then it ends up on the Nintendo 64 online expansion pack. Link's Awakening got a remake for the Switch. Guess what? The original Game Boy version is on the online service right now for you to play. Advance Wars, that got remade for the Switch. Guess what? The OG versions, they're on the online service as well. You can go play those. You got all these different versions that you can play on there, and everything else as well. So you can have it where maybe you can do the update. If you want the updated HD version, you can pay full price for a separate copy, or for £30 or $30 or $40 a year. Sorry, because that's how they price it out. You can just have the original versions for free. Not for free, but do you know what I mean? Like, you can play. You can either, it could help give you players the choice between either picking the OG versions they remember playing, maybe with slightly upscaled graphics, but barely any changes, or they can pick between the more updated versions of the game. So say like they released they released Skyward Sword HD for the Switch, right? So let's say they do a Wii version, they do a Wii online service, and they put Skyward Sword on there. Yeah, sure, Skyward Sword might be a bit pointless, but the idea is that that there were slight changes with Skyward Sword HD to Skyward Sword the Wii, the original version. So that could be one where like you can either pay full price for the HD remake, or you can pay $40 a year and just play the OG version for the online service. And I think that'd be a really cool thing to see. And same thing with Luigi's Mansion 2. Like, if we get 3DS games on the Switch 2, a 3DS online service for the Switch 2, again, like, that could be really cool. Like, you can either pick between the remake or the original. Same thing with Super Mario RPG. I think that original version is definitely going to come on the Switch online service very soon, maybe in a few years' time, but very soon. Same thing with Mario vs. Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong 84 as well. Like, that will come on soon. I think I'm just waiting for the hype of the remake of Mario v Donkey Kong to die down. And yeah, that would be so cool to see. I think that would be really cool to see. But the main thing I should probably get into right now is the one thing that this system needs out of everything. This is the one thing that the system needs. And Nintendo, I cannot stress this enough. Power, power, fucking power. This system needs power. Like, I cannot stress enough how much. Look, if there's any console that ever shows that power is actually vital to a video game system, it's the Nintendo Switch. I love the Nintendo Switch. It's a very great system. I've used mine all the time. I recently brought, as I said beforehand, I recently brought Red Dead Redemption, the remake, the port for Switch. I cannot wait to play that. But the system is so underpowered, really underpowered, and it's starting to get to the point where it's starting to show its age. It's, well, even before it started showing its age, like, the Switch can barely run its own games because of how underpowered the system is and how big and massive these games are getting. Like, they just can't run these games. Even the ones Nintendo makes for the Switch themselves has trouble running them. Like, they stagger, they chug, and it's just like, we need more power. We need more power. We need to kind of be on the same. I know this might be a bit wishful thinking, but we need to be on the same level as the Xbox Series X or the PS5. Like, we need more power. It blows my mind that a company whose first video game slogan was "Now you're playing with power," now their systems don't have any power. It's like they're the most underpowered company on in the market at the moment. And it's like we need more power for these systems because if we don't have any power, like we're just gonna have the same problems. These games aren't gonna run properly. They're gonna have glitches. They're gonna have performance issues, and they're just gonna chug like the Chugosaurus Express. It's just not a good model. We need more power in the Switch 2. And there's been rumors going around that might not be the case. That could be not really on the same level of power as the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. There's conflicting rumors on that. There's rumors that it could be. There's rumors that it might not be. We can't really take. We can't. All we gotta do is take these rumors with a grain of salt. We don't know how true these rumors are. But I can't stress enough. We need more power. We need more power because games they're starting to chug like a motherfucker, and we can't have these games chugging. They can't just you can't keep chugging along. We need them to run as smoothly as possible. Like for example, one of the games I'm actually really looking forward to. I didn't even know that. And like everyone else, I didn't know this game was being made until last month when it got announced. Is the Epic Mickey remaster, Epic Mickey Rebrushed, because that's a game that I really wanted to play back on the Wii. I never got around to playing it. It's now getting remade for the Switch. I'm definitely going to buy it and check it out because I've always wanted to try out Epic Mickey. But this more darker, twisted kind of Mickey Mouse game that looks really cool. But the gameplay footage they showed in the Partner Direct, it just looked like it was chugging. It looked like it was running terribly on Switch, and that has me really worried because it's like I don't want games that run this badly. That's one of the main reasons why. That's one of the main reasons why I didn't buy the Arkham trilogy on Switch. Even though I was really looking forward to that trilogy too, really looking forward to it. And then I read the reviews up and how god awful the performance was and how everything, and it's just like, oh my god, it was just bad. It was just bad. And I was talking about making Harry Potter jokes earlier. One of my friends actually brought me Hogwarts Legacy for the Switch recently, and I've been playing a little bit of it, and it's a really good game. Don't get me wrong, I'm getting really into it, really invested into it. But the thing is, chugs like a motherfucker. You can tell the graphics don't look very good on the Switch. There's frame rate issues. At one point, the game crashed on me. Like I was just playing it, and it just crashed. And it's like, why did you crash? Like, what did I do? It turns out I didn't do anything. It was the game itself. It just at some points it slows. There's pop in, like grass and textures just pop in, and it's like this is 2008 again, and it's it's just bad. It's bad. It's just it looks like a Wii game as well. I can't lie to you. The Hogwarts Legacy for Switch, it looks like it was made for the Wii. It's like a slightly HD'd upscaled Wii game. That's what it looks like to me. It doesn't look like a Switch game. It doesn't look like a next gen game, and that sucks because you look at the other versions and they're so well good and detailed. Don't get me wrong. There's like problems with those versions as well, like with Hogwarts Legacy, like performance issues and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, like we need more power in the Switch 2. We cannot have another games console that just chugs along. That just decides, yeah, I'm just going to chug and can't run its own games. We need more power in the system. Before anything else, we need more power. We need more power. This system's got to be powerful. It has to be powerful. We have to get back into the power game. I know Nintendo dropped out of the power game after the GameCube and I get that, but believe it or not, Nintendo, the GameCube didn't fail because of power. The GameCube failed because it lacked base features that the PS2 and Xbox had. It had an online feature that nobody knew about. It couldn't play DVDs unless there was a Panasonic queue. And it came out third. It came out last. The Xbox and the PS2 were already out by then, so it came out last. And didn't have much third-party support because you guys decided to go with mini DVDs for some reason instead of large CD-ROMs, even though everyone else was doing CD-ROMs, and that would have been so much easier for developers. I mean, I get the reason why, they wouldn't want their games being pirated, but come on, man, like you're Nintendo, like people can still buy your games. I don't know, but we need power. That's the main thing with the Switch 2. I think that's the main thing you can take away from this. The Switch 2 needs to be powerful. It cannot be slightly underpowered. No, it needs to be powerful because if we want these games to run better and look better, we need more power, way more power. I cannot stress enough how much we need more power in these systems. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure. Maybe the PS5 is struggling to get that power out, and the Xbox Series X. I'm not too sure about that. I've not really looked into what's going on there. I know people are a bit unhappy with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X at the moment for different reasons. We're not probably looked into the I guess the drama, let's say. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, Nintendo, if you're listening to this, out of everything I've listed that I want for the Switch 2, power is the main thing. I need more power in this console. It's a great system going wrong. In fact, you're being outdone by the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck is pretty much the same as the Switch, but even that's more powerful than the Switch. That's more powerful than the actual like official console that it was like inspired by. Like you need more power in your systems, man. That's the one thing you can take away from this. Make your systems more powerful. And that is it, everybody. That is it. That is the future of Nintendo. The future of Nintendo is looking pretty bright so far. When the Switch 2 eventually comes out, which will probably be around 2025, because that's apparently the rumored release date. Maybe late 2025 or anything. I can imagine them delaying it to Christmas 2025. I know they want to get a good library of games for it, so that'd be nice to see. But yeah, everyone. So that's pretty much it for this episode of my Isolation podcast. The future of Nintendo is looking pretty bright, I think. We've got a lot of cool projects coming up. We've got a lot of cool movies, games, and stuff like that. We've got another console in the works. It's going to be an interesting year if you're a Nintendo junkie or a Nintendo pundit, fanboy, whatever you want to call yourself. It's going to be an interesting time for us, Nintendorks. That's what I like to call myself. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time for us, Nintendorks, because it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. And yeah, that's pretty much it, everybody. So thank you so much for tuning into this episode of My Isolation Podcast. Whether you're listening to this in the morning, evening, or afternoon, whatever time, thank you so much for tuning in and joining me on this episode. All my links are down in the description below. Follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, whatever social media you have. Visit my website for more information about me as a person, and if you got a short film in the works and you need help, I can help you out with that. I don't mind. I'll work for free. I literally will. I'm not even joking about that. And yeah, everybody. So, as I said beforehand, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you whenever I see you next.